come join me on a trip to the West Bay Road. So we've been focusing on West End, West Bay, or more of the more notorious areas of Roatan, but we have not really talked about the roads and in between places like West End, West Bay, and Flowers Bay. So come join me for an aerial tour. All right, beautiful skies in Roatan, Honduras today, and it's technically rainy season, so, well, it looks pretty nice to me. So we are going to start off. I'm actually in between, like kind of right in between the proper West Bay, West End, and Flowers Bay. So I'm right in the middle near the Roatan Rum Factory, near the lighthouse. There's a lot of building going on, but I'm kind of right in the middle. And it's actually one of my favorite views on the west side of the island. So that's where I chose to do the video. And you got such beautiful topography. You can see the north side, which is what we are just panning down. We're looking at West Bay now. And now we are panning over to the south side of the island. And if you look really hard and squint your eyes really fast, you can see Cayos Cachinos in your top right of the screen right there. But we've already passed it now. So this is just, I love this area. And we've always been focusing on just areas like the small area of West End or the small area of West Bay, and we haven't even talked about the South Shore yet, which is what we are zooming in on right now. That the bay that you see to your right in front to the left is Flowers Bay, and that neighborhood is called Flowers Bay, where they're starting to do a decent bit of development. It's always been a really nice neighborhood for people to live in, great schools. And now it's starting to become a little bit more commercial, which, it's definitely a double-edged sword, but that's one of the things with Flowers Bay. It used to be one of my favorite places to do shore diving on the south side. That's a little bit of a tongue twister, but there is just so much land in between these three kind of, three centers, even though it doesn't really seem like that if you're just driving. So I wanted to take a minute and show everybody how much space and how much there is to do in between the three kind of centers. And there's so much amazing topography, and you can see down the South Shore, which is, I'm highly biased. I think Roatan's absolutely beautiful and one of the most beautiful islands I've ever gotten to step foot on, and I'm very fortunate to call it home. But I just love how much topography and green we still have on this island. And I know there's a lot of talk about development. There's been more development in the last 3 years than I had seen in the prior 12 years that I lived here. It is growing at a much faster pace than it had been historically. But what I do like is I like when developers don't just destroy all of the green. And even though this is the West Bay Road, there's a lot of development on it. It's still green, it's still lush, and all of the homes in between, you can barely even see the roads, which in a minute I'm going to show you the West Bay Road. But there are tons of roads right under the jungle that I just wasn't able to show you that turn off and go into little neighborhoods. You've got lots of roads. Most of the roads go to the north. There are not as many going to the south side. That's just because it's a little bit more of the topography is a little bit steeper, so that's where you have your zip lining, is going to the south side. And then if you pull back, or if you go over to the east a little bit, that's where it flattens out, and so there are roads going to the south side. But most of the neighborhoods are to the north until you get a little bit farther into West Bay, and then it's very even between the south and north sides. But I did want to take a step back and show you the road. So this is the West Bay Road. I'm right in the middle, halfway between everything. And I wanted to show this road looks really nice. And for anyone that's been on the island more than, let's see, when did they do those? 2018 to 2019. So this road is beautiful. And I just wanted to show how much space there is on both the north and south sides. And the road, it's pretty fabulous. It makes things a lot easier to get to, and a lot safer to drive on. And you can tell that there is a decent bit of development on the main road. And what you were not able to see is how many homes are just down these small roads on the south and north sides. But right now we're kind of going over the lighthouse, which is actually where I was standing. And I wanted to show you just a little bit more of the road. So I'm showing you about 1.5 miles. Well, I think that was technically 3 kilometers that I am showing you. And I'm at one of the peaks. There are 2 big peaks on the West Bay Road. And we are on the, well, the first one. And if you look right in front of us right now, that is where one of the zip lines are. Where if to the left is the south side, and that's actually where the zip line goes, is to the south side. And then to the, well, if you look right in front of us over to the right a little bit, you can see West Bay, where you can see the water get a little bit lighter, and you can also see those red buildings. That is actually Infinity Bay. So you can tell we are pretty close to West End. And then we could also see West Bay. And then a minute ago we could see West End, where we saw Half Moon Bay and Gibson Bight. And then to the south we saw Flowers Bay. So we're actually not that far from any of those 3 places, but there is so much territory in between the 3 because of how windy the road is, the topography of the island, which is just, well, it never gets old. And I do one of these videos probably once a week, and I never get tired of it. And I don't know how you could get tired of looking at this beautiful turquoise water. It's beautiful. So now we're going past the Turtle Crossing neighborhood and panning back to West End. We were just looking at West Bay, and it's absolutely beautiful. And if you look very far on the screen, what you're seeing there in that, well, what looks like a bay, that's actually Gibson Bight, but Half Moon Bay is right next to Gibson Bight. So it kind of shows you how far we are actually seeing with this drone. And right now I'm about 60 meters or 200 feet high. I did keep it pretty high because if you could see, there's a lot of construction, there's a lot of dense forest, there's a lot of power cords, and I didn't want to go on a scavenger hunt looking for the drone of mine. And I wanted to finish up the tour. We're almost done. We're going to pan back to Flowers Bay, and it's so beautiful over here, and it hasn't been developed. There's not much, actually, there is a really, really nice community over there, but it hasn't been commercialized, I would say. Maybe that's the more appropriate term. And so you just don't have what you have over in West End. That's very crowded. You get a lot of tourists. Flowers Bay is still much more of a local community, quiet, and it's, well, I love Flowers Bay. It's where I used to do shore diving a long time ago on the south side, especially if the weather gets a little choppy on the north side, which is nice in Roatan. Even if you come in rainy season or you come during a storm or something, it's few and far between we can't dive somewhere on the island. And what's nice is it's either choppy on the north side or the south side. Now it does happen, we do get choppy on both sides sometimes, but it's not very often. So if you're thinking about coming or not wanting to come during rainy season, we are at the very beginning of rainy season today, and you can tell it's, crystal clear waters, clear skies. Thank you so much for joining me on the West Bay Road. If there are other areas of the island that you would like to see, or if I can provide any more information, my door is always open. Thank you so much for watching.